There is a road in Virginia and North Carolina where the pavement climbs to over 6,000 feet, where 26 tunnels are bored through solid rock, and not one of them has a light inside. The Blue Ridge Parkway, 469 miles of it, and in all 469 miles there is not a single gas station. No billboards, no truck stops, no commerce of any kind. The shoulder, where there is one, was built to vanish into the grass, so the meadow comes right up to the paint. It is the most visited place in the entire national park system. More people came here last year than to Yellowstone and Zion put together, and 12 of them died. What makes this road different from every other dangerous road in America is that the day it kills you is usually a beautiful one. You wake up in Asheville or Roanoke or Boone, you look outside and the sky is clean. You check the forecast and it agrees with you. You put your gear on, you ride up onto the ridge, and somewhere around 4,000 feet, the world goes white. So why does a clear morning in the valley tell you nothing at all about the road above it? The riders who die up there are over and over the ones who checked. Start with the scale, because the scale is what disguises the danger. In 2025, the Blue Ridge Parkway recorded 16,533,753 recreation visits. That is not the most of any parkway. That is the most of any unit in the National Park System, full stop. Ahead of Golden Gate, ahead of the Great Smoky Mountains, which took 11.5 million and gets called the busiest national park in America. Zion had about 5 million, Yellowstone about 4.8. This road outdrew both of them combined. Now the other column, a news tally compiled from Park Service data and press releases counted 12 deaths on the Blue Ridge Parkway in 2025. Across the whole national park system that year, only Lake Mead was higher, with 18. Natchez Trace had 11. The Great Smokies had 10. Lake Mead is a desert reservoir the size of a small country. Natchez Trace is 440 miles of federal parkway. The Great Smokies is 500,000 acres of mountain wilderness where people go into the backcountry and do not come out. This is a road with a speed limit of 45 miles an hour and picnic tables beside it. That gap between how safe this place looks and what it actually does is the whole story. And it is not an accident. Somebody drew it that way on purpose. North Carolina, September 11th, 1935. The first crews put shovels in the ground near the Virginia line. It was a depression project. $4 million federal dollars to start, a make-work road for men who had no work, running 469 miles along the spine of the Appalachians to tie Shenandoah National Park to the Great Smoky Mountains. The route was overseen by a landscape architect named Stanley Abbott, and construction dragged on in pieces for 52 years. The last gap finally closed in 1987 at the Lynn Cove Viaduct, when most of the men who started it were dead. Understand what Abbott was actually building. Not a highway, not a route from anywhere to anywhere. He was building a view that you move through slowly, and every decision he made served that. The road was drawn, not engineered. It follows the shape of the mountain the way water follows it. Where a modern road would cut through a ridge, this one goes around. Where a modern road would be straightened, this one bends, which is beautiful, and which is the reason it kills people 90 years later. Here is what Abbott specified and what you inherit when you ride it. No billboards, because signs would break the illusion. No commerce, no fuel, no motels, no roadside attractions, because Abbott wanted the road to look like it ran through untouched country. And no shoulder, or almost none, because a wide gravel apron would announce that you were on a piece of infrastructure. He wanted the forest edge and the meadow grass to grow right to the pavement. The Park Service's own description of what a motorcyclist meets out there names narrow and soft shoulders, long sweeping curves, and tight curves. They also name a specific geometry that riders find on this road more than almost anywhere else, the decreasing radius curve, a bend that gets tighter the further into it you go. Read that list again and notice something. Not one item on it is neglect. Not one is deferred maintenance or a budget shortfall or a thing nobody got around to fixing. Every hazard on the Blue Ridge Parkway is the design, working exactly as intended. Which brings us to the weather and the reason this video exists. You are standing in a town at the bottom. Asheville sits at about 2,000 feet. Roanoke sits at about 1,000. The sun is out. Your phone says clear. The Park Service puts it in writing on its own website. Clear skies in local communities do not guarantee equally pleasant weather at higher elevations. And at any time of the year, the parkway can be in the clouds with foggy driving conditions. The road you are about to ride starts at 649 feet down at the James River in Virginia and tops out just over 6,000 at Richland Balsam, around milepost 431 in North Carolina. That is more than a mile of vertical on the same continuous piece of pavement, with no announcement anywhere that you have crossed into different weather. Temperatures on the crest run 10 to 20 degrees below the foothills you just left. Some sources put it higher at 15 degrees or more. The forecast you read was a forecast for the town. It was never a forecast for the road. What is happening up there is not complicated, and it is not weather in the way you normally think about weather. Air moves in off the Atlantic, and it is wet. It crosses the coastal plain, it crosses the Piedmont, and then it hits the eastern face of the Blue Ridge, and it has nowhere left to go but up. When air rises, it expands. When it expands, it cools. It cools at roughly 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer while it is dry, and at about 5.5 to 6 degrees per kilometer once it has become saturated. Every foot of climb takes a little more heat out of it. Cool air holds less water than warm air, so keep lifting the same parcel of air, and eventually you reach the altitude where it cannot hold what it is carrying anymore, and the water stops being invisible. Meteorologists call that altitude the lifting condensation level. It is a height, not a place. Cross it and a cloud forms. Here is what that means for you on the bike. The cloud on the ridge did not blow in from somewhere else. Nobody failed to forecast it. It is being manufactured right there continuously by the shape of the mountain you are climbing. The mountain is a machine for making cloud, and it runs whenever the wind comes from the wrong quarter, which on this coast is most of the time. That is why the ridgetops go white while the valley stays clean. The valley is below the condensation level. The road is above it. And this is the detail that everyone misses when they look at a fog forecast. The fog is not weather that arrives. It is terrain expressed as water. Now put a number on how often. There is published research on the spruce and fir forests that grow at the top of these mountains. the ones that look like they belong in Canada. Those trees are a relic, left behind when the last ice age retreated, and they survive here for one reason: they drink the cloud. The numbers from that work are specific. High elevation forest in the southern Appalachians sits inside cloud on roughly 65% of growing season days, and for something like 30 to 40% of a typical summer day. One study's instrument tower and the canopy around it were immersed in cloud between 25 and 40% of the time it was measured. Cloud water supplies up to half of what those forests drink in a year. Sit with the road version of that. The trees at the top of the Blue Ridge Parkway are alive because the road is inside a cloud most of the summer. Not on bad days, most days. And in a car, that is an inconvenience. In a car, fog means you slow to 30, put the wipers on intermittent, turn the headlights on, and follow the taillights in front of you until it thins out. It is dull. It is not dangerous particularly. On a motorcycle, it is a different thing entirely, and the difference is not one of degree. Your visor glazes over almost immediately, not with rain, with condensation, from the inside and the outside at once. You wipe it with a wet glove and now you have a smear instead of a film. You crack the visor and your eyes water. The pavement changes too. Condensation lays a microscopic film of water over the asphalt, and because it never rained, the road still looks dry. It is not dry. It is a road with the friction of a wet road and the appearance of a dry one on a bike that leans. Your headlight makes it worse. Light hits a billion suspended droplets and comes straight back at your own eyes, and you cannot pull over. Because Stanley Abbott did not build you anywhere to pull over. So let's do the arithmetic out loud, because the arithmetic is the whole argument. The speed limit on the Blue Ridge Parkway is 45 miles an hour. Lower in places, 35 through some stretches, 25 where people are walking around. 45 miles an hour means you are covering about 66 feet every second. The National Weather Service starts calling fog dense when visibility drops to a quarter of a mile or less. A quarter mile is 1,320 feet, and put like that, it sounds survivable. 20 seconds of warning. But riders who have been caught out on this road do not describe a quarter mile. They describe the cloud closing to a couple of car lengths. Those are riders' accounts, not measurements, and nobody has published a visibility number for this road. So take them as what they are, anecdote from people who were there. Here is the rule anyway, and it does not need a number to be true. Your only survivable speed inside cloud is a speed at which you can stop within what you can see. On a straight road, you can estimate that. On this road, you cannot, because the bend you are inside is getting tighter, and you cannot see where it ends. You are not riding the road, you are riding a memory of the last 100 feet of it. That was only round one, because the numbers on the crashes are worse than the numbers on the weather. In 2023, Park Service law enforcement rangers on the Blue Ridge Parkway responded to roughly 394 motor vehicle crashes. 83 of them involved a motorcycle. That is better than one crash in 5 on a road where motorcycles are a small fraction of the traffic on any given day. The Park Service went further than the arithmetic. In its own words, the Blue Ridge Parkway has the highest number of motorcycle crash injuries and fatalities in the National Park Service. Not the highest of its parkways, the highest of everything the agency owns. Its motorcycle safety page carries a different figure, and it is worth being straight about the discrepancy. That page says up to 250 accidents involving motorcycles happen on the parkway each year, some with fatalities, and over half causing serious injury. 250 and 83 are not the same number. They are counting different things, one of them a ranger response tally, and one of them a broader accident count. And the Park Service has never reconciled them in public. Both are theirs. Rangers have also said that this road averages somewhere around 300 crashes in a normal year, which makes 2023's 394 a bad one rather than a typical one. And one more figure from rangers talking to riders. More than half of all crashes on this road happen on a curved grade, which is the Park Service's polite way of saying on a bend, going downhill. May 10th, 2024. The Park Service looked at that data and did something it has not done for any other road it owns. It launched a motorcycle safety campaign, Rule the Ridge, timed to Motorcycle Safety Month, aimed at a single road out of the hundreds of miles of pavement the agency manages. The acting chief ranger at the time, Deb Flowers, put it this way: motorists need to understand that the parkway is designed differently than other roads they may be used to. In addition to sharing the road with cars, bicyclists, and hikers, the parkway's narrow and soft shoulders, long sweeping curves, and tight curves present unique challenges to riders. The campaign told riders things that sound almost insultingly basic. Ride single file. Keep your distance. Ride the center of the lane because the shoulders are unforgiving. Use the overlooks if you want to look at the view. And there is one more warning, and it has been there the whole time. At most of the entrances to this road, there is a sign telling you to avoid the parkway in fog and bad weather. You rode past it to get here. August 9th, 2021. A Sunday, around 4 in the afternoon, milepost 348.5 near the Rough Ridge Tunnel, west of Marion, North Carolina. George Wayne Harkins, 74 years old, of Sonoya, Georgia, was riding north with a group of motorcyclists. The Park Service report is 4 words long in its essentials. He lost control in a curve and left the roadway. He died there. His American Legion post said he had been on his way home from a ride with friends. His Veterans Club called him a pillar of the community. Now hold that phrase next to what Abbott designed. He left the roadway. On a normal American road, leaving the roadway means gravel, then a guardrail, then maybe a ditch. 3 chances to survive a mistake. On the Blue Ridge Parkway, leaving the roadway means leaving it. There is grass and then there is forest, and the grass is the width of a bicycle. Harkins was the 5th motorcyclist killed on this road in 2021, and the 7th person overall. It was August. The riding season had 4 months left to run. September 9th, 2024. A Monday, about 2:30 in the afternoon, milepost 377 north of Asheville. Albertos Peak was 67 years old, from Bodegraven in the Netherlands. He was riding southbound with a group. The Park Service found that he failed to navigate a turn, left the lane, and hit a vehicle traveling northbound. The driver of that vehicle walked away with minor injuries. The call to Park Service dispatch came from the men he was riding with. Look at the geometry of what happened to him, because it is the road's second signature. There is no median on the Blue Ridge Parkway. There is no barrier, no concrete, no cable, no grass strip. Between you and everything coming the other way, there is a painted yellow line, and the assumption that both of you will stay on your own side of it. That is the entire safety system. It works perfectly right up until somebody cannot see the exit of a curve. A man crossed an ocean to ride this road. June 1st, 2025. A Sunday, 1 minute before noon, milepost 162 in Virginia. Edward Zagata, 60 years old, of Charlotte, North Carolina, was riding north. A deer crossed the road in front of him. He was thrown from the bike and badly hurt, and a helicopter took him to Carilion Roanoke Memorial Hospital. He died of his injuries on the 14th of June, 13 days later. Deer are the hazard riders talk about least, and the one this road guarantees. Go back to the design one more time. Abbott wanted the forest edge and the meadow grass to grow to the pavement with no cleared apron, no sight line, no buffer. So on the Blue Ridge Parkway, an animal is never more than one stride from your lane. It does not walk into view and then into the road. It is in the trees, and then it is in front of you, and there is no interval in between where you could have done anything about it. That is not bad luck. That is a design specification, 90 years old, doing what it was drawn to do. June 20th, 2025, a Friday, about 8:30 in the evening, milepost 126 near Roanoke. William Greer was 44, from Boone's Mill, Virginia. He was riding north when he struck a car turning left into an overlook. The driver and the passenger in that car had minor injuries. Greer was pronounced dead at the scene. 8:30 in June is still light. This was not a visibility failure. It was the other thing this road does to you. There are hundreds of overlooks on the Blue Ridge Parkway, hundreds. Every one of them is a left turn made across your lane by a driver who has spent the last 10 minutes looking at mountains instead of mirrors. They are not bad drivers. They are doing precisely what the road was built to make them do. Abbott designed a road to be looked at. Then he put the parking lots for looking at it on the far side of oncoming traffic. And it is worth saying that the road does not restrict this to motorcycles. March 23rd, 2025, about 10 to 1 in the afternoon, milepost 11 in Nelson County, Virginia. Troy Hagwood was 62. His wife Cheryl was 60. They were from Stewart's Draft, and they were in a car, not on a bike. Their vehicle struck a tree limb, left the roadway, hit a large roadside tree, and caught fire. Both of them died. The parkway was closed while crews put the fire out. Troy Hagwood had worked for the National Park Service for 16 years. He was off duty that afternoon, driving a road he knew professionally, and a branch on the pavement was enough. Think about what that takes. Not speed, not fog, not a deer. A tree limb on a road where the trees were planted to the edge on purpose, and a roadside with nothing in it but more trees. 5 reports: a curve, an oncoming lane, an animal, a car pulling off for the view, and a branch. Not one of those 5 Park Service reports mentions the weather. That is worth saying plainly, because it would be easy and it would be dishonest to put a cloud into those stories. No release attributes any of these deaths to fog. What each of them shows is something narrower and more useful. It shows what this road does to a rider who loses sight of the surface or the exit or the lane for about 1 second. The fog is the thing that takes that second on most days of the summer for free. Which brings us back to the curves and to the sentence that ties this whole road together. A decreasing radius curve tightens while you are inside it. On a clear day, you read the exit as you enter, you set your speed once, and the bike does the rest. Inside cloud, you cannot read the exit, so you carry your entry speed into a corner that is quietly getting smaller around you. By the time the geometry tells you what it is, you are already leaned over and out of options. More than half of all crashes on this road happen on a curved grade, on a bend, going down. The Park Service tells riders to hold the center of the lane and calls the shoulders unforgiving, which is a strange word for an agency to use about its own pavement. It is also the correct one. So here is the line. Learn it and take it with you every time you point a bike at a mountain. The sunshine in the valley is not a forecast for the road. Milepost 399.1, Pine Mountain Tunnel. There are 26 tunnels on the Blue Ridge Parkway. 25 of them are in North Carolina, and exactly one is in Virginia, the Bluff Mountain Tunnel. Pine Mountain is the longest, about 1,400 feet of it. The shortest, Rough Ridge, is 150. None of them are lit. Not one in 90 years. And many of them curve, which means the daylight at the far end does not reach you where you are. You go from full mountain sun into a stone tube at 45 miles an hour, and your eyes need several seconds to adapt. The tunnel gives you 2. That is why riders are told to switch the headlight on before they enter and take the sunglasses off. It is also why a cyclist can be in there with you in dark clothing, grinding uphill, effectively invisible. Now stack it with everything else. You come out of an unlit bore into a wall of white cloud. Or you ride into cloud and then into the bore and then out the other side into cloud again. That is one pair of eyes being asked to do 3 impossible jobs in 6 seconds on a road with no shoulder, no median, and a curve that is tightening. And this is where it stops being just about the riders, because in September of 2024, this entire road stopped existing. Helene put 58 catastrophic landslides onto the Blue Ridge Parkway and closed all 469 miles of it. Here is where it stands right now. The Park Service updated its closure page on the 16th of August, 2026. More than 400 miles are back open. Roughly 68 miles are still shut. Getting those 400 miles back took 2 years. 58 impact sites went under contract. Crews are still working 45 of them, stabilizing slopes, hauling out debris, rebuilding overlooks and guardrails that slid off the mountain in a single night. And look at which miles. The Helene closures are the North Carolina high country, from about milepost 317.5 at Linville Falls up to milepost 355 at Mount Mitchell, with one partial reopening in the middle. All of the road recovery work is targeted for the end of 2026. So the highest, coldest, foggiest, most photographed stretch of this entire road is the stretch you currently cannot ride. And the piece you can ride, from Mount Mitchell down to Asheville, has been cut to 35 miles an hour with 1-lane traffic controls and dump trucks on it, because that is the access route the repair crews are using to reach the slides. Meanwhile, the old rule still holds because it was never a maintenance issue. There is still no gas station anywhere on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Fuel sits off the road at the highway crossings and the gaps between towns that have any run 40 to 60 miles. 90 years on, Abbott's Road still refuses to sell you anything. So go back to where we started. You are standing in the valley on a clear morning, looking up at the ridge. And there it is, that white line sitting along the top of the mountain, exactly where the road is. You know what it is now. It is not weather moving in. Nobody failed to forecast it. That cloud is being made continuously by the mountain itself at the altitude where the air it lifted can no longer hold what it was carrying. It will be there most days this summer. It has been there most days for as long as those spruce trees have been drinking it. 12 people died on this road last year on a scenic drive with a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit and picnic tables beside it, more than anywhere in the national park system except a desert reservoir. The road did not change. It has not changed since 1935. It was drawn by a man who wanted you to slow down and look at the view, and it has been keeping that promise exactly ever since. Edward Zagata was riding north on the 1st of June at 1 minute to noon on a Sunday when a deer came out of the trees at milepost 162. The Park Service filed its report on him while he was still alive.